Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you're calling in from tonight on this Wellness Wednesday. My name is Marissa Mangimelli. I'm an integrative health and functional nutrition practitioner, a mom of a 7-year-old little girl named Amelia. We live on a farm in Pennsylvania, and I'm so super excited to be having a wonderful conversation with Dr. Dan tonight about Kinetic. We are going to chat about people's real life experiences with it and some frequently asked questions in regards to that. Now, Dr. Dan is our Chief Scientific Officer. He is a renowned phytonutrient chemist, Caltech trained scientist. He's got over 16 patents. Above and beyond that, he's an incredible person, and he is a visionary for really moving the needle on proactive wellness, researching and finding and developing medicinal properties in plants. And we're so grateful to have him here with us. So Dr. Dan, I want to go ahead and invite you on. I don't want to waste any time because these questions are great and I want to dig into them.
Hi, Marissa. So great to be with you. Hi, everyone. Good to see you all. Good to be with you all.
Yes, I'm so excited we're able to do this. Is there anything you want to share before we go digging into some of these questions and experiences our customers and our brand ambassadors have had with Kinetic so far?
What I would just say is that the feedback on Kinetic overall has been amazing. I think you'll see a little bit of that tonight as we discuss. But we're just really excited about this product, the power of this product. This product epitomizes what we do here at 3, where we discover new molecules from plants. We put them in new products that give new powerful results.
Yeah, and we're definitely seeing that. So first, how about you share a little bit about what Kinetic is? And also, I would like to know what made you choose to go down the path of an energy type drink, because it's so much more than energy, which we're seeing in these experiences, right? But if you would share about that a little bit more, that'd be wonderful.
Absolutely. So energy is one of the greatest need states in the world today. The body performs millions of chemical reactions every single second, and due to lifestyle factors, these reactions don't function to the degree that they can or that they should. And one of the biggest manifestations of that is a reduction in energy. And I'm not just talking energy about wanting to run the 40-yard dash in a fast time. I'm talking about energy needed to think clearly, energy needed to have the motivation to do well in our jobs, to do well at school, to not be too cranky with our kids and our relationships with those we love. All of that requires energy. And so when we were thinking about new products that we wanted to develop, we already have 6 amazing nutritional products that really cover the gamut, large areas of proactive wellness. We wanted to develop a product that would dovetail nicely with those, give energy. When I'm saying energy, I'm also talking about cognitive energy for brain health. And then also hydration was one thing we wanted to address, because in the world that we live in today, we're chronically dehydrated. So one of the issues, when it comes to a lot of different areas of human health suffer because we're dehydrated. So we wanted to address those 3 things with this product.
Well, that's like the perfect lead-in for one of the topics, which is hydration.
Yeah.
And I would love for you to share a little bit more about what hydration looks like, because I run into so many times people will tell me when I'm working with them, well, I really drink a lot of water. And my first question is, okay, well, share with me how much that looks like, but the other piece is the mineral content, right? And that is, I feel like, a big missing piece. So share a little bit about why that's so important and how we have it in our Kinetic.
So, like I mentioned before, the body performs millions of processes. I'm a chemist, so I talk about chemical reactions, millions of processes every single second that are vital for life. And if you remember your high school chemistry class, when you have A plus B, you have an arrow going to C. This is our classic chemical reaction. For A and B to come together, they need to be dissolved so that they could see each other. If they're not dissolved, then they can't see each other and no reaction is going to take place. And so what you need something called a solvent, which is a liquid that you pour in with those reagents, those reactants, and that's what causes a chemical reaction to occur. And so water is a universal solvent for life. For all these reactions to happen in the body, you need a solvent, and that's what water is. So in the body's 65 to 85% water, depending on the tissue. And so water is absolutely critical to life. We're not drinking enough water. And like you said so beautifully, it's not just getting water, it's water with the minerals and with the right ratio of minerals, not just minerals by itself, but with the right ratio that the body needs for proper function. And so when we talk about water, and water filtration is a big deal. Obviously, we want clean water, but what happens with a lot of these filtration systems is you could actually filter out some of the needed minerals for the body to function
Absolutely.
properly. And so, if your water is so crazy pure, reverse osmosis plus 9 filters plus blah, 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 you can actually have water where it doesn't have the necessary minerals for the body to function properly.
Yeah, and it can actually deplete the body's content, natural content and minerals that it has as you continue drinking it. So I love that. Thank you so
Okay.
much for sharing that. I want to talk. I personally relate to some of these scenarios that are on here, but we're gonna dive into the first topic, which is weight loss and body composition. Now I'm going to share. We don't market this product at all for that, right? We market it as good for energy and mental clarity and focus and hydration and mood. However, there have been a lot of stories and experiences and testimonials where we have a lot of women, which is interesting because I'm just realizing that now in this conversation. I'm sure there's some men out there too that have expressed that they've lost weight since adding Kinetic without any
Mhm.
other changes. My personal experience is that my body composition has changed. I haven't really lost weight, but I've lost inches. I'm going to
Mhm.
share one story, if that's okay with you. And then I'd love for you to share on why you think this is an experience a lot of people are having. So I have a quote here. I have been struggling for the last few years with weight gain out of the blue. No lifestyle changes, but definitely starting the perimenopause phase of life. I've tried so many things and nothing has made it budge. Since adding Kinetic to my daily routine, I've lost weight. I can't even believe it. I'd love to know your thoughts on why this may be.
Wow, that's beautiful. And I'm so glad that this person is seeing a difference in their body composition. Body composition, weight loss, body mass index, waist size, these are really important things. We identify with that a lot, right? And
Yes.
body image is it's a really powerful thing. And so to have something that can help with this is amazing. So when it comes to weight loss, we need to understand that weight loss is a side effect, a beneficial side effect of bringing these chemical reactions that we talked about earlier back into balance.
Mhm.
The body knows what the ideal weight is. Every body is different, and your body, my body, other people's bodies, there's an ideal weight that it wants to achieve, and it will achieve that if we give it everything that it needs and if we remove the impediments. So why has this person seen a difference, beneficial difference in their body composition? Why is their waistline slimming? Well, there's a few things at play here, and probably more. But number one, hydration, like we just talked about. If the body is dehydrated, it cannot get to that ideal metabolic state where weight loss can occur. Number two, one of the most powerful things about Kinetic is it can help to reduce adrenal fatigue. So in our body,
Yes.
we have the adrenal glands. The adrenal glands is where cortisol and other stress hormones are produced, and the body cannot lose weight. Metabolic health cannot function properly if we're stressed out of our minds. And we live in the world that we live in today, there's a lot of lifestyle factors that can cause stress and anxiety. And so when we take Kinetic, it can balance out the adrenal glands. The adrenal glands are burned out because of a high stress lifestyle. So taking Kinetic can reduce adrenal fatigue, bring stress levels back into balance, and that can help with weight loss and to help with to losing inches on our waistline. The other
That's awesome.
the other thing that I would say is fat storage. So again, if metabolic function in the body is out of balance, the body is going to store fat. Fat is one of the most precious resources for the body because at the end of the day, the body is just trying to survive. It's in survival mode. And everything that it thinks about and everything that it does is to make sure that you and I are safe. And fat is one of the best fuel sources that the body uses. But here's a trick, and here's a catch. It doesn't use fat most of the time. It stores it away because it's that rainy day fund that the body needs. If it gets into a crisis mode, if famine happens, it has that fat that it holds on to that it can use in a doomsday scenario is not the right word, but you know what I mean. So the body holds on to fat. It covets fat, and it's very, very reticent to give that up. With Kinetic, with the clean caffeine that we have, and with the other ingredients like yerba santa and rhodiola and Korean ginseng, these natural molecules in these ingredients actually bring metabolic function back into balance and actually coax the body to let go of some of that fat. So we have a couple of things going on. We have the release of fat. So fat kind of can't be burned if the body's holding on to it so tightly. And what happens is when you take Kinetic, the body is willing to give some of that fat to just kind of let it go, let it float out into the space freely to release fat. And that's a crazy scientific word called lipolysis. And so lipolysis happens, so fat is in the ether now. And then when fat is reduced, the body can tap into those fat stores and burn that fat for energy, for fuel, and that's called thermogenesis. So both of these things happen at higher rates when you take Kinetic, which is why people are seeing a change in their body composition.
That's so awesome. I love that. Would you also, just because of hearing a few things you touched on, a lot of people don't realize also that crisis that fat is storing for, our body often feels like we're in it almost on a daily basis because of the stress levels we live in. So
That's right. Exactly.
Right. So it's like, we're in crisis. I have to store. And the other piece is we tend to also store toxins and fat. And
That's
so
right.
would you say the hydration piece of this also helps the filtration piece of this for removal of toxins as well?
Absolutely. It absolutely does. And these minerals that are missing, right? So the modern processed diet, there's a couple things that I love what you said, and I want to highlight some of these. With adrenal fatigue and stress and cortisol, the body doesn't really need to hold on to that fat because most people are eating too much fat anyways, right? Calories, caloric intake is high. The modern processed diet is chock full of fat, unhealthy fats. And so this just it compounds the situation and it makes it worse. And for fat storage, for fat burning to happen, you actually need vitamins and minerals. And so in some of the water that we drink, if it's ultra pure and whatever, we don't have these electrolytes that the body needs in order for thermogenesis to happen. And so it's this complex cycle and it's a compounding effect. So because of the modern lifestyle that we live, there's three or four different things we've touched on them that aren't happening that need to be in the equation in order for weight loss to occur and just for the body to function properly like it should. And so when you take Kinetic, you actually give all of these three to four things the body needs so that it can now function as it should.
I love it. And Vitality Kinetic is like a 1-2 punch, I feel like, right? You're getting all the
It
nutrients in,
is.
you're getting great minerals
It,
in.
it is, yeah. Vitality and Kinetic, perfect match. And we could go through all the products that we have. All of them really pair well with Kinetic in a
Oh,
lot of
yes.
You mentioned Purify with the toxins,
Yep.
Eternal with the antioxidants, Revive when it comes to workout recovery, Immune. We could talk about health of the immune system
Yeah.
and energy. There's a direct link there for sure.
Yeah. Well, let's talk a little bit about how there's a lot of sharing on Kinetic, which is an energy drink,
Yeah.
on people feeling calmer. So I will read, I'll read one of the testimonials here really quickly. I know that Kinetic is meant to support focus and cognitive function, even knowing that I'm pleasantly shocked by its ability to quiet the busyness of my brain. I
Mm.
frequently have a hard time focusing on one task at a time, getting distracted easily, and often get lost in multitasking. Coffee and other caffeinated drinks have helped to a small degree, but after a week of drinking Kinetic, I have noticed a huge difference in my productivity and ability to focus and not get lost in the weeds. So the question is, what makes this so different from coffee, tea, and other energy type drinks? And why am I not feeling antsy like I do with others?
Yeah. So the antsiness comes with caffeine, and it's synthetic caffeine. So when we talk about kinetic, we need to understand that this is clean caffeine. Now, what do we mean when we say clean caffeine? Well, clean caffeine contains caffeine from natural sources, but just as importantly, it contains a lot of other beautiful molecules that complex with that caffeine and hold on to the caffeine and manage the caffeine to make sure that the body can actually tap in and utilize that caffeine. Caffeine is never ever meant to be left alone. Kind of like that 3 or 4 year old. You don't leave that 3 or 4 year old alone in the house because if you do, you come back to craziness. Caffeine's a really powerful reactive molecule. And if you notice in nature, caffeine's never alone. It's always complex with polyphenols and amines and xanthines and like theobromine and whatnot. And so it's crazy when you look at a lot of formulations today, energy drinks, that's just caffeine by itself and it's synthetic caffeine. And so that goes directly into the body. That causes a really powerful response to the adrenal glands. It's basically like pouring gasoline on a fire, which is whoosh, causes this huge, crazy response, gives off a lot of heat, and then it goes down, and the body's left to clean up the mess from that. We should never have a crazy response. If you look at molecular levels in the body, it's always supposed to be this really nice, beautiful bell curve. It should never be a peak. And synthetic caffeine causes a peak. And there's not these other molecules that are there to attenuate and modulate the caffeine. And so when we say clean caffeine, what we mean is caffeine with other natural molecules from plants that can make sure that caffeine is utilized properly in the time, in the space that it's needed.
Okay. So I'm going to share a little bit of my personal experience here with this because I'm super curious now. I cannot drink a coffee.
Mm.
I get, I tell people all the time, and I apologize if this, but I feel like I am having schizophrenia and a heart attack at the same time. Like my mind is wild and my heart is wild and it's so uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So I've drank, I enjoy coffee, but I drink decaf.
Yep.
So I'm curious because I feel the total opposite with Kinetic. Now I have connected the dots because I described it as a Zen feeling. Even after a convention, I said to you, I don't understand because I just feel like this heightened sense of Zen. But I'm
Yeah.
realizing now that it's that my brain is quiet because I attributed
Right.
it to be similar to meditation, like how I feel
Right.
after a really good meditation. So now I'm like, okay, I understand it's quieting my brain, and that's why I'm having that Zen-like feeling. But also, I'm not having any reaction to the caffeine, which I was nervous about. I took one for the
Yeah.
team, literally for my team, to be able to share my experience. But I drink a whole packet, I drink a half a packet, whatever I'm feeling that day. But I don't have that anxious, insane feeling in my body when I drink it. But I do when I drink coffee. So
Yeah.
what's happening there?
Yeah, that what a beautiful story, and that really highlights what we're talking about. First, of the caffeine. Kinetic has 200 milligrams of caffeine, and that's a
Yeah.
lot of caffeine, and that can worry people up front, because we have experiences probably taking a red ocean type energy drink with synthetic caffeine, with 75, 100, 150, 200, and it drives us crazy, like you said, right? It's a bad experience. But caffeine when it's clean, when it's complex, when there's other ingredients in there, caffeine is really powerful at driving a nice, beneficial physiological response. And so when we say kinetic and we say that it's an energy drink, We do that just so it's easy to market because it is. It has 200 milligrams of caffeine, but it's so much more than that. When we have our adaptogens, we have the electrolytes, we have molecules from a plant called yerba santa, and all of these combined just provide a really powerful it, it really helps with cognitive function. Like you mentioned, it's akin to meditation. It quiets the brain. And that's because of glycine, rhodiola, Korean ginseng, and these molecules, which just form a really nice blend together. You know, it's like cooking. If you have cayenne pepper by itself, that's not great, right? And that causes a really crazy response, i.e., melting your mouth. But if you take other ingredients, cacao pairs really well with cayenne pepper, right? And you have natural fats which emulsify and work with that cayenne pepper, right? If you add other ingredients, you can create a really delicious recipe that, although it has cayenne pepper, and maybe in some cases, depending on the recipe, a lot of cayenne pepper, that cayenne pepper is modulated by all the other ingredients, and it's a really beautiful, delicious experience. That's kind of what we've done here with Kinetic. We've taken this really powerful molecule, caffeine, which shouldn't really ever be by itself, and we've paired it with other master regulators to just provide a really powerful experience.
I love that. I love that. And you touched on master regulator and adaptogens. And
Yeah.
I feel like adaptogens, not that it's a buzzword, but it's a buzz topic. And I feel like a lot of
Yeah.
people throw it around, but don't really have a grasp on what it really means. So, like, before we dive on to the next, question, can you share a little bit about what an adaptogen actually is?
Yeah, what a great question. So adaptogens, um, the term that people use is adaptogens help the body adapt to different circumstances, different situations. And when we think of adaptogens, people automatically go to brain health benefits. And that certainly is true because adaptogens do help with cognitive health. But again, when we go to the body, all these reactions that the body's performing every single second, millions of them, lifestyle factors can cause these reactions to get out of balance and whatnot. And so the body should be this symphony where the musical instruments are playing just this beautiful tune and it's beautiful to the ears to listen. When you go to a elementary school or a junior high symphony performance, I have three daughters and I've been to many of those band performances and whatnot. Sometimes it's not beautiful harmony because you have an instrument that's out of tune or things are happening and it's not great. And so, what adaptogens do is they go in and they fine tune those reactions to make sure that things now function as they should. And so, like I said, one of the major things that we see when we add adaptogens to the body is that brain health improves. We have mental clarity, we have calmness. The brain functions like the fine-tuned machine that it was meant to be. And it makes sense because the brain is the command center of the body. That's where most of these reactions take place. And the cues, the action items that come from the brain that are sent to other parts of the body, right? That all originates in the brain. And so if now these reactions are happening properly, if the symphony is fine-tuned, then the brain and brain activity is stabilized and we feel it right away.
Yeah, that's a perfect lead in for a question that I got this morning about gut health. And people might be like, what? Brain, gut health? But we know that a lot of our cognitive function and health comes from gut health as well, right? The two are very directly connected. And somebody shared this morning that she's noticed. Now, I know this is actually a friend of mine, so I know she takes a lot of the products and they've been amazing for her in so many ways. But she shared this morning that since drinking the Kinetic, her gut health has been really good. And that one threw me a little bit. I was like, oh, okay. So what are your thoughts on that? But here, now I'm like reverse engineering in my head. I'm starting to see it, but I want to hear your thoughts on it.
Yeah, so that's really cool. That's a really cool data point, and it leads to some really cool science that we're able to talk about. So, a lot of us have probably heard of the gut-brain connection. So, the gut and the brain can actually talk to each other. Well, how does that work? So, we have the brain, which is a command center of the body that we just talked about. And as you mentioned, we have the gut microbiome, which scientists refer to often as the second brain because there's 25,000 genes in the body. These genes are the switches that control the reactions that we've talked about. 25,000 genes in the body. Well, the gut microbiome, we don't know for sure, but some of the estimates that we've seen and some of the DNA sequencing that we've done, there's probably 300,000 genes in the gut microbiome. So there's, roughly 10-fold more, 10 times more. And so when we're talking about the gut microbiome, we need to realize that these are bacteria. These are living organisms as well. And there's reactions going on in these bacteria. These bacteria, most of them, hopefully, that are in our gut are good bacteria. And the body needs them. So during the 80s, it was a whole antibacterial craze, right? We wanted to kill bacteria. Bacteria were evil. Everything was antibacterial soap and shampoos and blah, blah, blah. We were always washing our hands and whatnot. Shh, bacteria bad. Well, the 2000s, 2010, certainly in our day and age, we now realize that good bacteria are absolutely vital for health. And that's why the probiotic industry has just taken off. It's crazy. And we have probiotics in our Vitality today because we realize that probiotics, good bacteria, are vital for function. So if we have these adaptogens and they're helpful for our brain, well, guess what? They're actually helpful for good bacteria as well. So good bacteria, they love rhodiola. They love Korean ginseng. They love glycine. So that's why this individual is seeing a benefit in her gut health because these good bacteria are munching on these amazing molecules in Kinetic and they're feeling the benefit as well as our human cells.
Right. That's awesome. And there's the cycle too, right? Where, and if you're having anxious feelings, it can cause distress in the gut, and the gut can cause distress in the mind. So I imagine it's just full cycle too. As it's calming the mind, it's also helping the gut restore. I love that.
That's right.
Yeah, I
That's
was
right.
surprised by that this morning. It was a cool one to get. Okay, so performance enhancing.
Hmm.
Now, athletes love pre-workout, and they love boosts in energy and in all the things. And I know that we have a lot of people using it as a pre-workout, but I had an interesting question and share. And it was, I'm a competitive runner and I've noticed a really positive difference having an Eternal, another one of our products, an
Mhm.
hour before training or competing. I've noticed a decrease in my time as well as better recovery. Would Kinetic be a good partner with how I'm already using Eternal? And when is a good time to drink it in a training competition setting?
Yeah, what a great question. And what a great observation that Eternal helps with sport performance. And it does. And when it comes to sport performance, we're not just talking about competitive athletes, which is kind of the context of this question. And it's great, but all of us are performing, right? Whether we're running a 5K or rowing or skiing or whatever, the
Or
body
chasing children?
yeah, or chasing children, which is which is one of the most difficult things for sure. The body needs fuel. No matter what we're doing, the body needs fuel. And so Eternel, with its polyphenols and its antioxidants and the other hundreds of molecules that are in there, help to make sure that the body, the genes, has the fuel that it needs. And so adding kinetic with Eternal is something that everybody should do, whether you're a competitive athlete or not. It's going to be powerful. It's going to help. The ingredients dovetail nicely together. There's not going to be any contradictions or anything like that. It's going to be a great thing. Now, when to take it? Probably 30 minutes before, if you're an athlete, 30 minutes before you do your strenuous sport. Same thing
Yep.
though, if we have a presentation at work or we have something that's going to be cognitively taxing that we're going to be doing. 15, 20, 30 minutes before doing that, taking a kinetic is going to be powerful. And pre-workouts are a big deal. So in the sport performance industry, they're a multi-billion dollar industry. And why is that? Well, because there's a lot of scientific studies showing that caffeine can help improve performance across the board, whether it's aerobic performance, meaning you're running or you're cycling or something like that, endurance sports, or anaerobic, right? You're in the gym and you're bench pressing or deadlifting or whatever you're doing. Caffeine's beneficial for that. The really cool thing, though, is because of all the things we've talked about in our conversation up to this point, the clean caffeine nature, the other ingredients that we have in there, the stress reduction, that's going to actually make Kinetic a better pre-workout than these other ones that have synthetic caffeine. So not only are you going to see the same benefits from switching from your pre-workout with 150, 160, 200 milligrams of caffeine to Kinetic, it's actually going to be better for you. So not only are you going to feel better, but you're going to see the better results. And that's one of the things with pre-workouts. It's kind of this vicious cycle. People have a love-hate relationship with them because you take them and you're able to do better, but then you pay for it afterward. Right? You
Yeah.
you have the skin flushing, you have that crash where you're able to perform well, but then you feel terrible. You feel like you've been whacked upside the head with a hammer. And you actually you actually have in a way physiologically because of that synthetic caffeine. And so Kinetic gives you that performance advantage, and then you don't have the negative side effects that you have with traditional pre-workouts.
Yeah. Well, even with the coffee, you're not getting the added benefits of everything else that's in Kinetic, right? Like the
That's right.
adaptogens and right. So, I mean that I was sharing that with somebody recently. So this is kind of actually the perfect lead into the next topic, which is the functional health space,
Yeah.
right? So that's my space. And it's really common for coaches, practitioners, physicians in the functional med space to eliminate caffeine from somebody, when they're having issues or they're trying to feel better or they're not sleeping well or they're cranky in the afternoon or so many things, circadian rhythm, which we need to touch on actually. So help talk to, I mean, I'm sold, but talk to me who someone's like, no, like if I would have just come across Kinetic on the street, I'd be like 200 milligrams. Nope, we're not adding that. Maybe eventually we'll add that, but a large portion of what we do is getting people hydrated, adding the minerals in, getting the hydration in, getting sleep in, making some of the lifestyle shifts. I now see the value, but I think there's definitely people who are going to be like, what? So sell it to the functional med space.
Yeah, so there are
Why
going to
is
be
it different?
people that are that way. And that's because they've just experienced synthetic, dirty caffeine products that really don't provide a wealth of other molecules. So what I would say to functional medicine practitioners, I would say that we're thinking about this in not wrong, but the way that we're thinking about this is not complete. We're thinking about this in the form of caffeine. Caffeine is a molecule, right? And caffeine by itself can wreak havoc on human health. And so, functional medicine practitioners, where they say, hey, let's start from a baseline, let's remove everything, and then let's add things back in. That's great. And that's a very logical way to think about things, right? So, we can start from a clean slate, and then we can kind of add things in and see where things are going. What people need to understand is Kinetic is not just a caffeinated product, it has ginsenoside. It has triterpene saponins from yerba santa. It has rosavins. It has L-glycine. It has theanine. And so it's not just caffeine. It's this beautiful molecular blend that can help with all aspects of health, right? And we need to help them see that this is not just an energy product, especially if we're talking with a functional medicine practitioner. They understand human health and they understand different areas. And so if we're talking with them, this is not an energy product. This is a metabolic health product. This helps to make sure
Yes.
the metabolism of the in the body is functioning properly. So that's the way that I would position it with them, that they can understand. Now, if they're still adamant, oh, well, no caffeine, great. Okay, fine. Do what you're going to do, right? A lot of times they'll say, well, green tea is different. So maybe we can add green tea or start with it at a lower level, whatever, right? Whatever we can do to use it, for them to use it, for them to start, and then they'll see that there's nothing to be afraid, nothing to
Yeah.
be worried about. And, they'll see that you really could have added it at the very beginning and it's not a big deal. But, we need to meet people with where they're at, right? When it comes to health, a lot of people have, these health, conceptions, stereotypes, their experience, right? We bring in our background experience when we come into health and wellness. And so a lot of times we have experiences before that dictate how we approach health. And that's okay. We meet people where they're at. But the bottom line is, and one of the most important things for our conversation today is Kinetic is a product that unless you have some serious medical condition, which again, anybody with a medical predisposition should consult with their doctor before taking any nutritional supplement. Outside of that, Kinetic is something that everybody can and absolutely should be taking. And the bottom line is, with the testimonials that you've read, they're going to have a good experience, and it's going to be a powerful experience for them.
Yeah. Well, I'll share a convention when you were launching it and sharing it with us. The second you said that it supported adrenal fatigue, I was like, then I was all in. My
Yeah.
ears were on. Because that's one of the things we're trying to avoid with caffeine
Yeah.
in someone who's having metabolic issues, is we want to actually get a healthy cortisol response again and avoid that stress component that caffeine can add. So that was really big for me hearing that. And I know the B vitamins, which we didn't even touch on this whole conversation, they're huge too.
They are. And it's the ratio. We spent a lot of time working on the right ratio of B vitamins. Because it's not just the ingredients that are in there, it's the curation approach that we talk about in our company. It's having them in the right amounts. Again, back to cooking, right? A beautiful recipe made by a Michelin star chef. Why are they so powerful? Well, not only is it the use of the ingredients, but the ingredients in the right ratios. And we talked about synthetic caffeine. Well, we could also talk for several more minutes about synthetic B vitamins as well, right? And these are natural B vitamins. So because of that, the absorption, and again, absorption, we didn't talk about absorption, right? You aren't what you eat, you are what you absorb. And so the ingredients in Kinetic are highly bioavailable, meaning the body can use them right away and they're absorbed into the cells. And that's why we see this great response.
Yeah. Well, the last thing I want to touch on, it got a little lost on me because we were having such great conversation, is circadian rhythm. Now,
Yes.
I love that somebody who did not hear you talk about Kinetic shared after a week of drinking the Kinetic daily, they were sleeping like a baby. She
Yeah.
said, and the message was, am I crazy? I swear it's helping me sleep better. And, we did hear you talk about that. So we're like, no, that's so cool. Dr. Dan shared it, but can you just touch that a little bit? Like it's a little bit of a dichotomy, right? To think like we have something that has caffeine in it that's also helping somebody sleep better. So can you touch on
Yeah.
that real quick?
Yeah, I can. And the important thing for us to understand a few different things is we position Kinetic as an energy drink because that's the most easy way for people to understand because it does have 200 milligrams of caffeine. And we wanted to make this product highly accessible and highly shareable for anyone, right? So you can go out and you could share this product. People can try it, they can feel the benefit right away. So that's why we're saying this is an energy product. And it certainly is. But when it comes to overall health, this is a metabolic health product that helps make sure the metabolism of the body is functioning properly. And part of that is circadian rhythm. And circadian rhythm, one of the ways that I like to think about circadian rhythm is if you've been to the beach and you have the waves come in and then they wash out, and they come in and they wash out. And it's like clockwork, right? And you could hear the ocean and these waves crashing, and it's beautiful. And sometimes it's high tide where it's the waves are pushed up onto the beach higher. Sometimes it's low tide where they're way back, but always the waves are coming in and out. And so this is called circadian rhythm. The body has a rhythm to it, a function to it. Um, and we want to make sure that these waves are crashing like they should. We want to make sure that when it's high tide, which is when the body needs energy, right? High tide is when we wake up. If we want to take this analogy a little further, high tide is when we wake up and we need energy on the shore. We need the waves pounding on the shore. Low tide is where the ocean pulls back a little bit, and that's when we sleep, right? Things pull back a little bit. There's not as much happening on the sand, on the beach, and that's when the body should sleep. And so with Kinetic, especially with glycine, glycine is one of the most powerful ingredients that we have in Kinetic that not only helps to sleep when it's time to sleep, but it gives us brain power when the brain needs power to function properly, to dispel the brain fog. And so glycine is one of the most powerful ingredients that we have in Kinetic, and it is one of the most powerful regulators of circadian rhythm.
Oh, that's awesome. I love the way the analogy was so perfect, and so clear. And I'm just in awe of what you put together with Kinetic. I mean, what you share, it really is a wellness drink,
Yeah.
you know, and it's impacting people so positively on so many ways. It's like, it's so great getting those messages back from people. They're like, what is this thing you gave me? Why am I feeling this? It's awesome. So thank you so much for you and your team creating it and pulling in some really interesting ingredients, and really creating something that's not on the market. Right? There's nothing like Kinetic on the market. So it's such a value, it's so valuable for people. So thank you so much for that. And thank you for your time today. Is there anything you want to share before we close out here?
Well, my pleasure, Marissa. It's been great being with you. I've loved our conversation. For all of you who are watching this, I'm grateful for each of you. I'm grateful for what you do to share our products with other people to improve metabolic health. You know, my goal, as I've mentioned before, if you're new, my goal is very simple. I want to make sure that every 8.2 billion people on the planet have an opportunity to improve their health and their wellness. And so when we develop these products, our 6 products that we had originally, nutritional products, and now Kinetic, when we developed Kinetic, we spent a lot of time thinking about how can we improve human health. And we also wanted to be easily shareable. So this product is easily shareable. It's a product that people feel a difference right away. It's a product that will build your business. So in addition to health and wellness, if you want to build a business so you can take care of you and your family financially, not only for the short term, but for many years to come, I feel very strongly that this is the product that will do it because it's highly shareable. Everybody needs this product. Let's keep it simple. That's why we talk about an energy drink. Everybody needs energy. So let's keep it simple and let's powerfully share this product. And it's going to take our health, the health of those that we love, and our financial wellness to the next level as well.
I love that. And I will share, if you are watching this live with us on August 27th, we have a 20% off Labor Day promotion happening right now. And so if you have not tried Kinetic yet, or your friend hasn't tried it yet, or you need some extra to get out in the hands of the people, now is a great time to go grab it because you can get it 20% off. Dr. Dan, this was such a great conversation. I could probably chat for hours and hours with you. I appreciate you and your time and everything you do for us at 3 and the incredible products you put in our hands as brand ambassadors. I am so excited to get out and share more Kinetic and to really support people's wellness. And thank you everybody who joined us this evening, this morning, wherever you're calling in from, or if you're watching the recording. And I wish you all blessings on all of you. And let's go share some Kinetic.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
everyone.
Bye-bye.